I trust Jovi. But I feel if I will be in a different position and I will be to the left, to the right, he'll get...
You see, this is the problem with some relationships. A relationship should never have trust just in one direction. I mean, what's the point of being with someone if only one of you trusts the other one? Trust has to be from both parties. Do you know what I mean? That's the whole idea of trust, right? Otherwise, what's the point of trust if both cannot trust each other? I mean, come on, this stuff right here, it's not rocket science. But sometimes some people, well, they be settling.
A little bit aggressive. He'll be like, what you talking about? That's not correct.
Actually, you're probably right. If I would have been blindfolded with you, I probably wouldn't have listened as well. But
there is no but. There is no but at all, Jovi.
He doesn't trust me.
So then what would be some things that you feel like he doesn't trust you in your relationship?
This is exactly where it gets a bit more interesting.
I just tell you so many times that I'm not ready for a second baby, and just you don't listen.
You know, at first, for me personally, I was like, okay, him not telling you that, oh no, so him not listening to you, what does that necessarily do with trust per se? You know, I was a bit unsure about this one, but at the same time, the specialists who were actually doing a good job of actually being a specialist make a very good point.
Well, that's a great point. Trust is not just about infidelity and some of these bigger issues. It's the everyday things that can build up. Yara, I'm wondering when it comes to trust.
I guess, to be fair, sometimes we don't always think about the everyday things. I guess maybe sometimes we all, or maybe we do think about everyday things, but sometimes we think about the everyday things from a different perspective. I might think that certain things are everyday things, and you may think that certain things are everyday things. And I think that's the problem sometimes. Sometimes something that is a small issue to me may be a big issue to you. And that's why communication is always a big thing. And that's why communication can build trust on a whole level. And obviously, I guess that you want to trust that when you tell your partner, they're going to take what you say seriously. You want to trust that your partner's always going to be there to look out for you, all that kind of stuff. So it does make a lot of sense, to be honest with you. So I do understand where Yara feels like as if Jovi doesn't trust her because he doesn't really listen enough. I mean, you know what? It's a fair point.
You're always talking to have a second baby, and I always tell you I'm not ready, it's just not the time. And I've been hiding from you. I've been taking the birth control.
Mad. You know, when I was doing this reaction on Patreon, I was like, I can see how this is going to be a big deal. But the crazy part about it, there was such a build up to this scene. When she said it, I was like, so what's the big deal then? You're just taking birth control because you're not ready for a child. And also, most important, you're taking birth control because your husband isn't listening to you when you tell him that you're not ready. So you've had to take extreme measures to make sure that, you know, you don't have a child knowing that you're not ready. So the question is, who's more at fault here? Jovi for not listening to her, so therefore she was less trusted? Or Yara for, you know, hiding this behind his back? For me, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, considering that this is, you know, I was going to say because it's a woman's body, it is up to her what she wants to do with her body. That was the first thing that I was originally going to say. But then I was like, you know what? Actually, no, forget that. If you know that you're not ready for a baby, then 100% you do what you can to prevent it happening. But, should you be in that position though? No. So really and truly, it doesn't change that the bigger issue is the fact that Jovi is not listening to her, and therefore she does not trust him when it comes to intimacy. She believes that if they continue to be intimate, that Jovi would try and purposely inside of her, if you dig what I'm saying. So therefore, to be honest, can I blame her for making this choice? No. Absolutely not. Because you're not being listened to. End of the day, the blame comes to the fact that there isn't trust on both sides. And that's something that Jovi has to work on. 100%. Like I said, you can't have trust in one. One cannot trust whilst the other one does not trust. That doesn't make any sense.
I know I can be adamant about what I want and maybe a little pushy sometimes, but I really feel like you blindsided me.
I mean, listen, you can feel like she blindsided you all you like, and I'm not saying that she didn't, but please reflect on why she blindsided you. I mean, the reason why doesn't make it okay, but you got to understand why, and then you can make things better. Because what's happened now has happened, and the question is, how do we move on from this? A lot of people neglect how do we move on from this. That is one of the biggest issues with a lot of relationships, ignoring that. Come on now.
And you shouldn't have done this in front of everyone. Like, we should have done this in a private session with just meeting the therapist. Like, you...
Well, just like Yara says right now,
you need to be more considerate.
Not blindsiding you. It's a group therapy. That's the whole point of the therapy.
That's that. And the crazy thing about it, let's be real, the only reason why you would have preferred for her to have told you this in private would have been because you'd have been able to vocalize yourself the way you would have wanted to. And it seems to me as if it may not have been in the best of ways. So I guess for her to vocalize it then and there, it just felt right, because it was the only time where she felt like she could say it, you know, in an environment where you couldn't take the upper hand. And to be honest with you, like, you're there in therapy, and the therapists are there. So therefore, it's very important to obviously voice these things in front of the therapist, so therefore they can give feedback. Now, I don't know if there's anything called asking the therapist to come and speak to you privately, because obviously this whole thing is group orientated, you know what I mean? But maybe that could have been an option, but either way, it had to come out, and it's come out now. It is what it is. And to be fair, I think also reflect on why is it that you took your wife? How come she only felt comfortable telling you in front of people? How come she never felt comfortable telling you behind closed doors? That's also something you got to look at too. There's so many things that you have to process. So many things you have to deep. So instead of looking at maybe blaming her or being like, oh, why do you do it this way? No. Maybe try and think about, I wonder why she's gone about it this way. You know what I mean? But hey, really curious to know what you guys thinking down below in the comment section. Yeah, and we'll talk about it. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, peace.